Hello, ladies. How are you guys doing? It's so great to be here with you today. Whether you are just beginning to explore IVF in the thick of it or simply looking for a little hope, I have been where you are. And let me tell you, it is a lot emotionally, physically, and mentally. And of course, yes, financially too. IVF is not just a medical procedure, it's a full on journey, and if you are feeling overwhelmed, it's okay. Today, I want to share some real honest tips that help me and many others, not just to increase our chances of success, but to feel more grounded and empowered along the way. Here are 5 key tips that made a big difference for me and might just do the same for you. At the beginning, I thought IVF would be simple. We would use our eggs and sperm. We need one round of IVF or two at most. I told myself I just want to have a baby because that was the only thing that mattered. But what I did not realize then was that journey can become very complicated. I had not prepared for the emotional toll, the waiting, the disappointment, and the grief after every call from the clinic. I had not considered how my body would feel after round 3 or how much it would hurt to hear someone say, just relax, it will happen. I definitely had not asked myself what it would mean to use donor eggs or how I would wrestle with questions like, will this child still feel like mine? What if they inherit something I will never fully understand? Looking back, I wish I had given myself space to sit with those possibilities, to ask myself how far am I willing to go? What are my limits? What will I need to feel whole through all of this? Not just in the end, but along the way. So, if you are just starting out, you need to give yourself some space and have this difficult conversation with your partner. Get clear on your why, how, when, because that clarity will become your anchor when things get hard. Tip 2. Get your finance in order. This one is big because let's be honest, IVF can be incredibly expensive, especially in places where insurance does not cover much or anything at all. The costs adds up quickly due to consultations, medications, blood work, embryo storage and more. It is a lot. The first step is to check with insurance provider and figure out what exactly is covered. Often there are hidden limitations such as restriction on the number of eggs inserted during each IVF. Similarly, there can be specific requirement for reimbursement. Clinics typically provide an itemized breakdown of all potential costs. However, keep in mind that cost can go up by a couple of $1,000s. For example, a clinic can initially state that only 2 injections are needed per day, but can later on increase it to 3 or 4 injections depending on your quality of eggs and rate of progress. The sad part of injection is often large portion of expensive injections remains unused or they are wasted. Additional costs due to such injection are not easy to estimate before. It is also important to explore financial assistance option. If you are lucky, you may get grants from organizations that offer help like Baby Coes, the Kate Foundation. Though I must say that I don't have any personal experience or I don't explore these options. It also seems that this cost can be covered by health saving account HSA or flexible spending account FSA when you provide a letter from the doctor. While most core services, medications and storage are typically covered, nuisance exists, especially regarding donor fees, storage duration and travel. Since it has tax advantage, one can set aside money specifically for medical expenses without paying income tax on it. Next, the paperwork behind IVF, what no one really talks about. Before a single injection or scan, there was paperwork. So much paperwork that it is important to prepare a checklist. There are consent forms for the IVF procedure, there are documents explaining the risks, there are forms about creating and storing embryos, about ICSI, about anesthesia and for egg retrieval too. Each one felt heavy, not just in length but in meaning. We are just signing the papers. We are signing off on hope, on risk, on the what ifs that we barely had the strength to speak out loud. Reading through it all was honestly overwhelming. There were moments I had to stop, breathe, and ask myself, can we really do this? But each form also helped us understand the gravity of what we are stepping into, and that knowledge, while intimidating, became its own kind of power. Then came the forms from the financial side. This includes the forms related to cost, disclosure, payment agreement, and what felt like never-ending phone calls with insurance. We tried to stay strong, but it was draining. Thankfully, the clinic supported us through this process, but it is required a lot of patience. If you are using donor sperm, donor eggs, or gestational carrier, just know there are even more things to navigate. Another important step involves mandatory testing for infectious diseases such as HIV, hepatitis B, C, syphilis. I want to tell you that both partners are typically required to undergo this kind of testings, even if only one is going through IVF. Finally, there is a final sign up from the clinic once all compliances boxes are checked. This is required before medication can be ordered. The truth is, the compliances checklist is not glamorous, but it's a part of the story. A quiet but necessary beginning. Getting through it took time, energy, and resilience we did not know we had. But doing it thoroughly helped us avoid delays later on. If you are on this stage, here is what I would gently suggest. Create a special folder, one for all the forms, test, results, and notes. Keep it close and please ask your clinic coordinator every question that pops into your head. This is your journey. You deserve to feel informed and supported every step along the way. Now, the IVF checklist I did not know I needed. Some clinics seem to assume patients already understand the process, but no one is born knowing what AMH level means or what a saline sonogram involves, right? I will never forget how defeated I felt when my cycle got delayed, all because of a lab test I did not realize had expired. The clinic required an updated infectious disease screening, and mine was just over a year old. They needed it to be current within 12 months of egg retrieval. I had no idea that tiny technicality could throw everything off. The information was in the fine print of a checklist buried in the patient portal, but I never got a specific reminder, no email, no call. So I went in for my day 2 blood work and ultrasound thinking everything was on track, but later that afternoon my nurse called, "We cannot clear you start medication because your infectious disease panel is expired." I just froze, my heart dropped. After everything, the planning, the appointment, the emotional build-up, it suddenly felt like ground had shifted underneath me. I had to go back in the next day for new blood work, then wait 48 to 72 hours for result. And depending on where I was in my natural cycle, the entire process could be delayed by a week or more. It was such a small detail, but it changed everything. It also made me feel completely helpless. Everything in IVF is so tightly scheduled, and one delay can throw the whole cycle off. I was terrified of losing time and even more terrified of what that could mean financially. And that fear of losing both precious time and money hit me very hard. I learned the hard way that I need to triple check every checklist, especially lab expiration dates and required documents. Now I set reminder in my phone and I always ask my nurse detailed question. Are there any outstanding tests, any forms I still need to sign? Is everything current and cleared? Staying organized is not just helpful, it's essential. Now, tip 4, the IVF countdown, managing medications and movements with a shared calendar. IVF runs on a tight, almost unforgivable schedule between day 1 and day 5. You start daily injection, typically Gonalep and Menopur, given in the belly, usually at night. Then come the suppression shot, depending on your ultrasound result, followed by a carefully timed trigger shot, and finally the egg retrieval. But it does not stop there. Even after retrieval, there are more medications like progesterone, estrus to support your body through the next phase. So, yes, you are juggling dates, injection, appointments, maybe even travel. It's a lot to manage. So my partner and I used a shared calendar to keep track of everything. We set reminders for every medication and appointment. It became our lifeline. And to relieve the stress during my cycle, I made a small promise to myself. For every injection, I gave myself one kind of thing in return, like watch an episode of my favorite show or go for a walk, text a friend, just something that reminded me I was still me in all of this. Because IVF can take you over your life if you let it, but we are more than patients. We are whole people and we deserve care, not just clinically but emotionally too. Tip 5 and the last tip is knowing how to get our answer. One of the most frustrating part of IVF is not knowing what is normal, not knowing why things happen, not knowing what our doctor meant by that confusing acronym. So here is what helped me a lot. First, find a trusted person at your clinic. Maybe it's the nurse coordinator or billing representative, or know who to call and when. Second, write down questions before appointments. Emotions runs high and low, and it's easy to forget what you mean to ask. Third, don't afraid to push. You deserve answer. We should ask for explanation in plain language, and if something does not sit right, we should prepare for getting a second opinion, because ultimately it's your or it's my body, it's your future, or it's so you have every right to ask anything. Also, online communities and forums were super helpful for me, but not everything on Reddit or Facebook group is accurate, so I filtered them wisely. I use them mostly to learn about the process and for support, but not for the medical advices. The latest ChatGPT model can also be helpful to parse through the ton of information available online. To wrap this up, IVF is one of the bravest journey you are taking. It's not linear, it's not always fair, but you are doing the best you can, and that's more than enough. Whatever your outcome, know this: you are not alone, you are a part of a community, and every step you are taking, even the hard ones, is also a step towards hope. I hope these tips gave you clarity, comfort, or even just a moment of, okay, I have got this. Sending you all the love and strength in this world.